Hello, everybody. My name is Morris Hayes. Prince gave me the name Mr. Hayes, and for close to 20 years, I was one of Prince's keyboard players and musical director for New Power Generation. I started working at Paisley Park in the late 80s uh, when they were working on Graffiti Bridge. I was a production assistant, and then I was in the movie. It's one of George Clinton's orchestra members, and it did many different types of things as far as working around the studio, and then eventually becoming prominent lecturers MD before the Diamonds and Pearls tour, and I graduated from the Diamonds and Pearls tour to New Power Generation in late 1992. Well, where the early days where music came from for me was I think I got started in the church. It was like everything when I was growing up, all of us kids around here in my neighborhood, everybody, we all went to church. So that just was part of life. It's just what you did. And my mom, she bought a piano early on, and she would kind of peck on it and do her thing. She really liked to sing, and she always wanted to play keyboards. And so, me and my brother would kind of bang on it, but we were exposed to music early in that sense. And then going to church, there was some really good players that we had in our church, and I just became interested in it, and just kind of took an interest in it. And I was okay. I was not that. I wasn't super good. I wasn't very good at it, but as a church, that's not really the big deal. It's just like your willingness to participate. And if that's good, baby, that's real good. You just do your best, But that's where my interest came. And then when I got into the University of Arkansas, I got into like a college band, and it kind of like that really kind of set it music in motion. I was an art major. I had an art scholarship at the University of Arkansas, but then being next to the music department, music just kind of made an imprint on me, and I think that's where it all began to kind of flourish in 1982. Well, one of the obstacles that a lot of times that we face as a musician or a black artist, especially, being in the South and that sort of thing, sometimes the obstacles are simple things like venues, to like where can you play, where can you go to play, and things like that. And I was very fortunate in that regard because most of the things I was doing way back in the day were church related. And so, we just travel um, to different churches. And, it was the only thing that was interesting about that is not so much, the church to the church part, but just the travel getting to the church. I remember in 1979, we were traveling to this church in Tennessee. And I'm sorry, to this other place, Milwaukee, I believe we were going. And we just stopped in a town with our church bus, and we got out, and the guy that ran a station, this gas station, it was like church buses, a lot of people, everybody kind of got rollers in, what different stuff they have, and they got off, and the guy said, "No, no, no, get back on that bus. We don't service your kind." Like what? Like wow, in 1979. So it's like back then, you like, man, it's 1979, man. We can to, it was like just to hear somebody tell you, you couldn't come in here. Like, no, just keep on to the next station. We don't service your kind. Get on back on that bus and head on out. So that was crazy. I mean, so sometimes the obstacle was the venue itself. Some was en route to the venue, just different things, that would happen. But you manage, you have to be resilient. You have to be like, well, we're gonna do what we got to do. Well, I mean, the thing is that yeah, you have a kind of different vibe depending on the region where you're from. And like if you're from New Orleans, you get, you got a thing there. And if you're from Georgia or Memphis, I used to live in Memphis, Tennessee, Texas prior to coming to Minnesota. So everywhere's kind of got a thing, and what you do is you kind of, when you get to a place, you kind of absorb the sound. You just say, what is the sound? Now, the good thing about the Minneapolis sound is Prince had really put the Minneapolis sound on the map. He was a very unique artist when he came on the scene. When he first broke on the scene, I think he was established very early on in his career. Um, what type of sound that he was going to be creating, and all of the stuff that was going to be coming out of Minnesota, Minneapolis area, what that sound was. And so, of course, us in other areas, we immediately heard this and we took to it. It was like, wow, you hear this cat coming out of Minneapolis. He's got this dope kind of thing that he's doing. It was just the sound, and everybody was kind of like tuning into it. I remember being in college, and the time came out in Morris Day and everybody, and then Prince was out, and then like all of those records were kind of like the same. We were like, is it Prince? Like, is he, is this just some alter ego? It was like all of this kind of buzz around the sound and everything, and the people that were involved in the sound. And it was like, are they cousins? And just a lot of stuff like that. It was just a lot of interest that he had generated. Well, as a young musician and a black musician coming up in the game, and trying to establish yourself, and really find places that you can work, and situations that you can become a part of. Paisley Park was a game changer. It was a life changer for myself. I know. We had a little experience. Back in the day, of course, whenever you were going to the studio, that was like something. It's like now anybody with a Macintosh laptop in the back of the bedroom got as a producer, they got a studio because you got these powerful computers. But back in the day, you had to like really raise a lot of money. You had to try to get in a place that you could, number one, afford, and you couldn't afford too much. So you had to really go in and do a lot of stuff in a little amount of time. To be able to go to a situation like Paisley Park, first of all, was like no other experience that I had because there weren't many people, I can count them on one hand or no hands, that actually were like black artists that had a establishment as severe as what Prince had. When I first came to Paisley, it was like I went to Hollywood. It was bananas. I mean, there's people shooting movies in there. I'm in Paisley Park, and there's Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau walking through the building, and you'd go in there and Sting is in there. Phil Collins, like all of these people that would just be at Paisley and just like walking around like Star Trek, just people just moving around. And it was incredible. I remember early in my career with Prince, we were doing a thing for ABC called In Concert. And we it was very cool. Prince had a soundstage. So it had all of this set, all of these things built, and lights, and all of these cranes and cameras, and I'm just sitting there like looking around, and I'm like, man, Prince, this is cool in the game, man. Like this is awesome because it's like, and Prince kind of made a joke. He said, "You can always tell the new guys," and I said, man, and I just said, Prince, you ought to be glad that a brother that's out here, man, doing it on this level, man. There can't be that many brothers out here got their own sound stage, got their own build. This before, you're talking about Tyler Perry and stuff like this. There was no Tyler Perry at this point, like that's doing stuff like this. This is Prince, and he's got a studio that's like massive, and he's doing this crazy thing that's got film and television and commercials and all of this stuff that's going on, and he's got all of these studios and everything. And it was incredible to me. It was like that was like the first Black Hollywood to me because that's the first time I'd ever been on a movie set and really seen a set and saw that all of the opportunities that were at a place like that, like when they were shooting Graffiti Bridge, and just to see all of the infrastructure, all of the celebrities, George Clinton was there, Mavis Staples, Tevin Campbell, Jam and Lewis, the time, all of these folks, all of this stuff that was going on. And it was just, it was incredible. It was like the heyday of my time, like being in Minneapolis and getting into that scene. It still was a scene, of course, the height of it was Purple Rain and how the city was buzzing and how everything was going like that. But it was a long span of time that Prince just had it locked up in Minneapolis, man. And it was just like Paisley was the epicenter of like everything in flight time. It was a place of wonder because all of my heroes, I met Bernie Mac at Paisley, Oprah Winfrey at Paisley, uh, all these comedians, all of these singers, no doubt. Lenny Kravitz was there often. I talked to Howard Hewitt, Shalimar, D'Angelo, like everybody that would come, no doubt. Just like all of the groups, Miles Davis, that would come through, even Harry, like Dan Rather from the news, he was in there hanging out. I mean, everybody would come and everybody would be a part of that situation, so many events and so many parties and so many, things like MC Hammer, his whole people came and took over the whole building. Like there were like 40 or 50 of them and his crew that came and they were just all over the place, like they owned the place, so it was just this mecca of music and art and all of the stuff that was going on. And for us to be able to, some nobodies, to come in and be able to hang with some of the big dogs and everybody be treated like we all, everything was cool. It was amazing because so many other things budded from those situations, and the ability to be there with different folks and everybody kind of be connected in that vibe, then other things would jump off and you got a session from this now. You got a gig from this. And that's what really made it amazing to me, man. And just to be able to do that. And Prince was at the epicenter of it. That's what he always wanted. He told me like when he was growing up, he couldn't wait to like get his own situation because he knew the power of having your own infrastructure, your own things that nobody really could control but you, that you can kind of set your own situation up. He was all about that ownership, things like that, and pride, black pride, being able to do something and do some good in the community and do some good for the people that he came up around, And so that was important to him. And I always thought that was very cool because I'm like, you have to give back. Once you have things that have been done that's done so well by you, you have to give back. And he always did. That was one of the greatest things I love about Prince. I call that Prince number 5, is that he would give you the shirt off his back. The key is, for me, is realize that, and I say this a lot because I always say, if I can do it, anybody can. I'm a kid from the middle of the woods in Arkansas. I didn't go to Juilliard or Berkeley or any of those places. I don't even know how to read these. I was blessed with a gift. But the other thing I was blessed with, as somebody who wanted to do something special, is I was blessed with parents and people who encouraged me and who said, hey, go for your dreams. You can make it. You can do it. Believe in yourself. Work hard. Those things are not just stuff people say. I just said, why not? I saw these guys doing it and I knew that's what I want to do in life. I just said, that's what I want to do. So what do I need to do? Well, I had to pay some dues. I got with some cats who were all like-minded people. See, the trick is to me is I had to stay out of harm's way. Like rock and roll is a kind of it can be a messy business. It's tough, and it can chew you up and spit you out. I tried to avoid the pitfalls of rock and roll, the tough things, drinking and partying and all of this stuff, and just try to focus on what is the end goal. I had people that my mom was a church lady, man. She was known by everybody in our community, man. She did all these programs and stuff. I couldn't act a fool and just do whatever I wanted to. My family name was on the line. I didn't want to go out looking silly and acting stupid and doing crazy. I had to represent. And so I always said, I'm going to do what I need to do to keep my nose clean and do what I got to do to represent my town and my people in the best way possible while I'm trying to make my way and just stay out of crazy. And that's what I did. I put all of that aside and tried to focus on strengthening my talents. And I had a lot of doubts about my talents. I didn't think I was that great. You know, people tell you and everything, and then some people just tear you down. And so if you believe them, sometimes you'll be discouraged. But you just got to know what is it that you love, and what is it that you would do if you could do it for no money, and just if you could do it. And that's what will help you determine whether or not you're in the right space. If you're doing what you love, it's not like work, because work is just for lack of a better term. So I just knew that that's what I wanted to do, and so I worked and I prayed, and I believe God delivered me to do what it was that I always dreamed of, and on a level that I didn't dream of. I couldn't even. I've done so many things that I never in a million been able to do. And that came as a result of a lot of help from a lot of people along the way who were kind enough to either teach me something, give me something, show me something. That happened along the way, and just great people, and being able to recognize and then be able to also be humble and say thank you when somebody did you a solid, and keep your eyes off of where you can help somebody. And that's where I am at this point in my career, is I want to do things that give other people an opportunity to do what I did in life and see what I've seen. I didn't ever think I'd see all of the sites. I've been all over the planet. I know my way around in a lot of different countries because I've traveled so much in the 20-something odd years that I've worked with this situation. And so I've been able to do things that I never imagined. And, and that, I want other people to experience that, man. It's like, that's the key, is to pay it forward and to do something to help other people realize their dreams and to realize that you too can do it. And so my thing is work hard, practice. If you're young, you should do a lot of things. I wish that there was a lot of things I had done when I was younger. Like I started music for a hot second, but I allowed my ear to get the best of me, and I didn't study as I should, because limiting yourself in that way cuts off a lot of opportunities. If you know how to read, just like reading a book. If you don't know how to read a book, just think of how that's going to stifle you. And so I'm even doing stuff now at 60 years old that I'm trying to improve myself. It's never too late. Trying to improve myself so that I can be better at doing some things. And so that's my word to you, is that you can make it if you try, if you believe it, and if you just say it, put it in the universe, and then just like ask the universe, ask God for what you do want. Don't ask for what you don't want, and then keep it moving. I mean, I've enjoyed for the last 5 years being able to play with the New Power Generation. The Prince Estate was so kind enough to let us utilize the name to be able to travel as the MPG and play shows and everything. And we've had a chance to work on some new music. We're going to figure out how to deliver that music and all of that sort of thing. And then I'm working on a thing called Global Groove for Peace, which is an initiative when I was living in China. We came up with this thing about how we can go to different places and commune with people, just like what Anthony Bourdain did with food, as he went all around and you kind of commune around food and you learn different cultures, and it's all about connecting people. And what I want to do is connect people through music. So we're talking about things like love and peace, and how we could, as human beings, connect with each other outside of politics, religion and different things like this. I'm a spiritual person, a religious person, but everybody's got different situations. But what are the universal things? Music is universal. Art is universal. Mathematics is universal. Those types of things, everybody can connect on those. And so there's a lot more things as humans we have in common than not. And so I want to focus on the things as humans that we all have in common. Music is one of those things. And so that's the types of projects that I'm looking at, things like that. I'm working on my own record. I want to put out my own record and do that whole thing too. There's no limit to what we can do. So I'm working on different things, podcasts, all of that stuff.